Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. James Corbett here, corbettreport.com, with this week's edition of Propaganda Watch. And this week is a special edition of the series because, mark it down on your calendar, folks, November 2nd, 2019 will go down in infamy, or maybe just fimy, for being the date on which the old propaganda medium was officially eclipsed by the new propaganda medium on the old propaganda medium itself.
And he can't wait. So thank you and thank Nero for your service. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. If I could I throw a PSA out real quick?
Real quick.
Just the remarkable nature of these dogs and them being highlighted in the news creates a huge demand by people that frankly shouldn't have them. If you see the coverage and you decide I want one of these dogs, either buy a finished trained, fully trained and finished dog from a professional, or just don't get one at all. And Epstein didn't kill himself.
Okay, thank you for that commentary. All right, Mike, maybe more on that later.
Need I say more? Probably not, but I will anyway. Of course, I don't need to explain to the vast majority of the Corbett Report audience what that clip was, what it was about, what it represents. But think, even just a few years ago, that combination of factors to create that type of a viral video was not really thinkable if we step back far enough in time. There has been a moment at which the old forms of propaganda are being rapidly eclipsed by the new forms, and yes, okay, it's rather arbitrary to say November 2nd, 2019 was that line in the sand, but it certainly is representative of a trend that I'm sure we've all seen by now. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the old, reliable propaganda medium of television, which has obviously been on the decline for years now, and is being eclipsed by the internet. Case in point, that very clip that we just watched. As I say, I am sure that the vast majority of the Corbett Report audience has already seen that clip in some form. Everyone who has, please put up your hand. Now, everyone who has actually seen that clip on TV when it aired, please keep up your hand. Well, that's me out of it, and yeah, it looks like a lot of hands went down. There's just a few hands left up. Oh wait, of those few people who actually saw this on TV, please lower your hand if you are under the age of 50. Oh, that's right. Of course. Only people of a certain vintage are really getting their information through television anymore. Come on. No, everyone is familiar with this clip because they saw exactly this type of a clip recorded on someone's phone as they TiVo it and laugh it up for the camera. This is the way that we are receiving this type of information. And as I say, this is not the first time a meme has been inserted into some sort of TV broadcast in order to get it propelled into being a viral online video, which is the way most people will consume it. But think about what that represents. Even disregarding the meme itself, the Epstein didn't kill himself meme, which I talked about with James Evan Pilato last week, and which is important in terms of its message, but even the medium through which it is being delivered, the internet, by way of television, is an interesting moment, I think, that we can all step back and see that there is something culturally happening here that is on par, absolutely on par with when television eclipsed radio, or when radio eclipsed print media. And as with every such change over time, there will be the old fuddy-duddies who will wring their hands and fret about what this means, about how civilization is deteriorating and degrading. And perhaps they're right. Perhaps they've always been right. But at any rate, it is happening once again. And I think there is probably, if not a generational line here, at least a line in terms of people who understand what's going on and people who don't. And that line is getting, I think, more and more stratified. There's fewer and fewer people who don't at least sense that there is something big happening here. Now, this is important because think about that last changeover from the radio era to the television era and how people thought about how this is going to affect culture generally and society. Are we moving into the post-literate age and things of that nature? But also, how does it affect politics? Because suddenly you have It's about people's telepresence and how telegenic they are. JFK might have won the 1960 debate because he looked a lot better on camera than Nixon did. That sort of fretting about, well, what does this mean in terms of, were we just judging things based on surface image, because now that is what is being presented to us. This gives rise to a whole slew of philosophical issues that are very vastly important, because at the very least they change the way in which the propaganda game is being played. And I think for a time, and maybe that time is already over or is fast ending, but for a time the advantage is actually for people who would break the status quo and people who would genuinely challenge the ingrained habits and opinions of society. And obviously, I think the Corbett Report itself is one of the expressions of this flowering of creativity and productivity that has happened because of the online communication medium that we have now to interact and transact with people directly without having to go through some television station or radio station or some other bottleneck where information is processed and highly edited. We can all start our own website. We can all get on GooTube. Oh wait, yes, that window is clearly closing. And so this moment is closing along with it. So today I really wanted to just broach the idea of internet culture. Internet as a medium of communication and how that is already starting to, and obviously will in the future, affect propaganda itself. Both the type of propaganda that is being conveyed and the nature of that propaganda and who is controlling that propaganda and for what purposes. And this brings us back to old questions that we've examined here on Propaganda Watch before. Can propaganda be used for good? Well, hey, here we have this meme that is being inserted everywhere about Epstein didn't kill himself. And if it weren't for this meme, the media, i.e. the talking heads on television. Television? You watch television? Well, that's for grandpas and dinosaurs. The television media would be telling you that, of course, he killed himself. Now let's move on to the next subject. People are rising up to say, no, let's not move on to the next subject. This is an important subject that we are going to continue talking about in this entirely new medium that you guys don't even seem to understand exists, let alone that it is where most people are getting their information anymore. And think about the way that this meme itself is propagating and being propagated. So that, for example, people are rearranging the lettered socks in the department store to spell out Epstein didn't kill himself. That is not being done for the actual physical people walking through in that store. Maybe a couple of dozen people will pass by and snicker at that as they go about their shopping before some manager comes along and sorts it back out again. But that image, again, I'm sure most of the people in the audience have seen it. It's been seen online who knows how many millions of times. And that's the way this is working. It isn't even about the physical space. It's about knowing that this can reach a much wider audience online. Again, this raises so many questions that, in fact, I'm going to do a much deeper explanation of the philosophical ramifications of this topic, because you would expect no less from the Corbett Report, would you? But I'm very interested to get your feedback about this process, what is happening, how it affects society generally, surely, but also the political conversation that is obviously being steered as a result of this new propaganda medium. And again, propaganda is a word that has many different ramifications and connotations. Are memes propaganda? Well, they are now, and they are being used to put information out there and to shove it in people's faces so that they can't avoid it, even if they're ensconced in their little television land bubble. Well, that's fewer and fewer people are anyway, but even there, the memes are starting to penetrate and becoming the dominant form of discourse. It's a fascinating conversation. I will have more to say about this later, but I just wanted to broach that with you today. And have at it, folks. Let's see what your thoughts and opinions are on this subject. It's a vast subject. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. I'm looking forward to talking to you again very shortly. James Corbett, corbettreport.com.